today is we're going to talk about the general overall picture of music. Music is very confusing. You know, people who play it and teach it like to keep it a big secret. It's kind of like, you know, I know, but I'm not going to let you know all of it. But remember last week when we talked about the scale sheet? If you're looking at the video, click on the scales lesson. This scale sheet, it really answers everything. If someone asks you a question about music, other than timing and note reading, all the answers come from this scale sheet. There are 15 scales. And remember, I also told you that the word key and the word scale mean the same thing? Okay, let me say it again. The word key signature and the word scale are the same thing, exactly. All right, key and scale. All right, so when you play music, if you're in a group, you might hear the conductor go, play the song in the key of G. Okay, this is all he has to say to a group of professionals to get them to know what he wants them to do. As soon as he says key of G, they know that the G scale comes right up in their head. They know the melody notes to play, they know how many sharps or flats to play, and they know what chords to use. Just because the conductor said play the song in the key of G or A or whatever he picks. All right? Now, the scales, all the scales mean are, remember the pattern? 2.5, 3.5. All the scales mean is it's a scale pattern, and it's determined by the note that you start on. And because the keyboard is a little off, you have 2 black keys and 3, and then it's not evenly distributed. Consequently, you get flats in some scales and sharps in others, and you get more or less depending on what note you start on. All right, so let's just review real quick the scales. The rule for a scale is 2 whole steps and a half, 3 whole steps and a half. Okay? You also remember that the distance between 2 notes is a half step. If there's no note in between, from one note directly to the next is a half. What's this? Whole. Half. That's a whole because there's a note right there. So half steps and whole steps. So if I just close my eyes and just randomly pick a note like that, oh, I don't want to see. Like that one, all I have to do is follow the pattern and I get a scale, correct? So here's G. What's a whole step from G? A. Whole step from A, B. Half step from B, C. Whole step from C, D. Whole step from D, E. Whole step from E, is it an F? No. What do I have to do to the F? Sharp it. And a half step from F to the last note G. All right, so that's how you make a scale. Now, if I say play in the key of G, that means that the composer used the G scale to write the song. All right? So, almost always at the beginning of the song, you will see first the jewelry, remember the jewelry design? Treble clef means what? Usually right hand, melody, upper keyboard on an organ, to the right side of the keyboard on a piano. Okay? Then you'll see something like this. That's called what? Signature. Time signature. That tells you how to count. 4 beats in a measure, quarter note gets 1. Then you might see one little sharp just hanging there like that. That is called a key signature. Time signature, key signature. Now, signature means if I put my signature on something, what does that mean? It means I sign it off and I verify it. Every musician, everybody knows that these are the 2 most important things to look at before you start to play. If that's not there, you don't know how to count the song. You couldn't possibly play it right. If this isn't there, you're going to find out pretty quickly that you're playing along and you're going, what is wrong? Every time I hit these certain notes, they don't sound right. That's because you probably didn't look at the key signature. Okay? Now in the Big Note Easy Playbooks, you will not see a key signature ever. They just put a sharp sign next to every note they want you to play sharp.
What kind of book?
Big Note Easy Play, all like the one you have here.
Oh.
All the notes that have the big notes with the name.
I've noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, that will not be at the beginning of the song. They just don't do it. They don't want one more thing for you to have to worry about. So they just put a little sharp sign next to every note they want you to have sharped. But regular notation music, if you look at a hymnal on Sunday, you will see these in almost every song. Okay? If this was a note, what would the name of that note be? It's on the top line, right? Every good bird does fly. Fine, fly. F. If there is only one sharp sitting up there by itself, it is always an F. Always. Okay, some things are variable. This is not. Okay? One sharp there, it's always an F sharp. This means two things. Number one, that the composer used the scale that has one sharp in it to write the song. So if you look at your scale sheet,
G.
what scale has one sharp in it? G. All right? So, this means two things. The composer used the G scale to write the song. So, the director of the orchestra will say, play the song in the key of, not in the key of F sharp, in the key of G. He wants to refer to the G scale. Okay? And for you guys who are beginners, you really don't need to know that it's the key of G. It doesn't matter right now. But what you do need to know, that every time you have an F note in the melody, or the left hand if you're reading bass clef, you have got to play it F sharp and not F natural. Okay? So you play along, and every time you see a note that looks like that or that, you will have to remember to sharp it. If you don't, you will not like the way your song sounds. Okay? It won't sound right. So if you're playing along and you're going, what is wrong here? You might go back and check and make sure that you noted in your head what notes should be sharped. Okay? All right, and composers don't like putting little tic-tac-toe signs next to every F note when they're doing a song, so they only have to tell you once at the beginning. Okay? Now, on the paper that I gave you, there's an order for sharps and flats. Very simple to remember. Now, here's the key. You have got to think like a child. What I'm going to teach you is legitimate music, but I could also teach you how to cheat. Which would you rather do? Cheat. Okay. So,